Hey everybody, Michael Phoenix Hart here, making another quick video. As I'm in the midst of writing a book right now about psychic protection and some techniques on how to do that, very practical techniques, decided to make a little video, quick little video about some of these things. So it's really important that especially if you're a sensitive person, like, if you're a medium or clairvoyant or a psychic, or maybe you're even just becoming aware of the energies of life, the dynamics of energies between people. It's good to know how to protect and clean yourself, and to take care of your energy bodies. Now, when I say energy, um, you know, there can be a lot of connotations around what energy is. There's different thought structures on a lot of these things, but I come from traditional understandings and very esoteric backgrounds. So I'll try to clarify a little bit on some of these things. Um, so power is different than energy. Um, and so what I mean by that is power is concentrated life force energy. So that you have a vital life force energy. It permeates all living things, and there's ways that you can build and store it and utilize it. It's a very deep esoteric understanding. It's very dynamic. It's not that simple. But there are masters and traditions that teach these things. And energy is kind of its degraded form. It's kind of like what power kind of like steps down into. So as things step up, they also step down. It's like a science. It's a science. And again, these are all very occult, esoteric thought forms. You can find them in almost every religion and tradition, especially the ancient shamanic traditions, the Mongolian, the Tibetans, and even the Western shamans all have ways of utilizing these practices. So you have power and you have energy. They're different. The soul is talked about in so many different metaphysical books. And the spirit, sometimes they are combined to mean the same thing. And so I'll just clarify here that they're not. Your soul is the thing that's incarnated. Your spirit is not incarnated. So that might take some time to wrap your head around. You probably won't find that in any books. It's a very, again, deep esoteric understanding, usually only taught from master to student. So, what do we mean by the soul? Well, you are the soul right now. Your physical body is part of the soul. Your emotional body, also known as the astral body, is part of the soul. And your mental body is part of your soul. Those three things make up your soul. Now, all three of those things are corruptible. Your mind can be corrupted and can be sick. Your emotions can be corrupted and can be sick. Your physical body can be corrupted and be sick. And they all work in harmony. And the number three is a big deal. That's an even deeper esoteric subject, but it's important to kind of like note that. So you have these three aspects that make up your soul. Now your soul, it doesn't have an identity like you think you have right now. Your soul is a soul. It's pure. It comes into this world pure. It doesn't have its own thoughts. It doesn't have its own wishes and agendas. It's pure. The soul is pure. The spirit, on the other hand, is even more pure. But it is the place where the soul originates. If you can understand like light through a prism and how it makes like a long string, a fleck of light from the source coming through the prism itself. The source, the pure light coming through the the triangle or the pyramid or whatever is reflecting the light, which is the material universe, time and space. And then that sliver of light is actually your soul. So it's a projection. Your soul is a projection of the greater purity that you are. And so it is that purity of your spirit. But once it gets here, it's been hardened by material reality, and it starts to take on identity and thought forms and other things like that. So that's a deeper subject as well. But for now, it's good to understand these concepts. Your soul and your spirit are two different things. Your spirit is not incarnate. It is the pure, unbirthed, self-sustaining, perfect you. And the soul is actually the reflection of that into this material universe. And it is corruptible, where the spirit is not. The spirit is eternal. The soul is not. The soul is corruptible, and at some point, it will lose its luster, its shape, and it will leave and come back to its source. So, for the purpose of this video, we're talking about psychic protection, spiritual protection. We're also talking about spiritual health and the health of the soul. Now, just like natural medicine, if you were to take some herbs to remedy a cold, you will find that it doesn't happen like that. Like if you were to take pharmaceuticals, which just get rid of your issues and your symptoms. Natural medicine, holistic health, is largely preventative. So it kind of prevents issues from happening. And if you were to treat an issue, it will take a good amount of time for you to come back into balance. Now in the health world, it's called homeostasis, and we can use that for the purpose of the soul as well. But the body structures, the nervous systems, your immune system, the whole body is always trying to find its balance. If it's out of balance, it's always trying to come into balance. So it's always in this mode of movement. And so balance is not a static location. And so it is for the soul. It's not static. You are always flowing in and out of balance, and your soul wants to find its balance. So in order to treat spiritual conditions, which directly affect emotional and physical conditions, you have to be aware of these concepts. And so if you were like me, who's just coming off from being sick for a small period of time, it could have been much worse for me. But I did treat myself with herbs. I did see a doctor so that I knew scientifically what was wrong with my body. I do have a lot of knowledge about the body, as I've went to school for multiple different things, so I know about physiology. So I treated myself with herbs, but I also did a lot of spiritual practices that kept my mental and emotional body in good condition. That way my physical body's deterioration would not affect those things as much, and they do. We all have been worked too hard, and it's made us emotionally drained and mentally drained. And this is because your physical body can't handle all the energies. It's not healthy enough to hold up those energies, and you probably don't have any practices, any techniques or ways to do that, and those are vital. And there's a lot of metaphysical books out there, and some of them have good ways of doing things and protecting yourself. But just envisioning the white light is not sufficient enough. Having a good, flexible imagination is great. You need that to do a lot of really deep esoteric techniques. But just imagining white light is not going to protect you from anything. It's not going to protect you from an onslaught of demonic forces. It's not going to protect you from bad, powerful magic. It's not going to protect you from an evil shaman, sorcerer, or voodoo practitioner. The white light is not going to protect you. It won't save you. It is a very good tool to vitalize the energy body, to give it a little bit more strength, but it is not the end all be all for protection or for cleanliness. So, as we think about the physical body and holistic healing or natural healing, we have to also address that with the soul. Now, the soul is the same way. You need to have preventative care. You need to be working on it all the time and paying attention to it, being mindful of it, and always taking care of it to keep it in good health. Same thing with the physical body. Since the three of those pieces together are the soul, you need to be working on those things. You need to be able to cleanse, purify, and protect the mind. You need to be able to cleanse, purify, and protect your emotional body or your aura. And you need to cleanse and purify and protect the physical body. If you do all three of these together and you have good general practices, you'll find that your state of health for your physical body is very well. Colds, flus, and other things like that may hit you a little bit, but not very much. You might move through them very effortlessly, where they may knock other people right down on their knees. You'll find that your emotional body, your aura feels strong. You wake up and you feel good emotionally, and you feel well emotionally, and your aura seems bright to you. You can even kind of sense like the cleanliness of your aura, the brightness of it, and how situations and other things won't affect it as much. And the mind will be clear and clean and strong. You'll be able to focus very well. You'll be able to keep pervading thoughts that you don't really need or want in your mind and your everyday tasks, like coming in and out. You'll be very focused on what you're doing. So these are some good telltale signs that you're in good health in these places. Now, a lot of us that are sensitive, especially people that are empathic and have clairsentience, you need to work a lot more on the auric body. You need to do a lot more work on the emotional body. And so most of us have emotional disturbances, and that's okay. That's it is normal in this lifetime. We need to deal with the things that, establish disturbances in our emotions, but we also need to figure out a way, not just to deal with those on a mental level and process those, but also how to process and clean the residues off from our emotional body. We want to keep that emotional body good. A lot of things I could recommend would be Tai Chi and Qigong, to take up practices like that. Hugely beneficial for the emotional body and also the physical body. So there's also thoughts in Chinese elemental theory, or shiatsu massage, and Chinese medicine, that help work with the energies of the soul and in the physical form as well. And so I could recommend doing some research there, understanding those things, maybe taking classes or even getting more well-rounded. There's also Ayurvedic studies, remedies, and things like that. So you want to know yourself. You have to get to know yourself if you want to have true health, spiritual health in this world. And in fact, to know thyself is one of the biggest things in the Oracle of Delphi that was on the temples. And that is not just, know yourself. It's a very deep thing, and it might take you your whole life to actually know who you are. And in fact, I would say it does. So you have to get to know yourself, know what your body constitution is. Are you phlegmy? Are you dry? Are you prone to sinus infections or lung infections? Do you get gout? You have to know all these things about you, and that means you have to study your ancestral background. You have to know the climate you're living in, the things you engage in, the things you eat, how they affect your body. There's a lot of study to be done. So it's not as easy as just picking up a book and going, oh, the white light will cure everything I have. It's not going to work. Reiki is a great tool If you know it, you can utilize it on yourself. It does wonders for the emotional body, or even seeing a Reiki practitioner and getting some Reiki done helps do a lot to the auric body and the emotional body, cleans it pretty well. Some of the techniques that you learn when you become a Reiki practitioner are very good for cleansing the aura and keeping some good health there. Um, but again, that's not the end all be all. You need to actually be doing a lot of maintenance. As an herbalist, I take a lot of herbs. I take different herbs for different seasons. Uh, I have personal chronic ailments that I try to manage with herbs. Um, I manage my environment with certain cleanlinesses. And so when it comes to spiritual health, it's directly involved with your physical health, your physical environment. Um, and so there's a lot of work there that needs to be done and understood. Um, so when it comes down to spiritual protection, the greater cleanliness you have in your aura, in your soul, and the greater clarity you have, and the greater health you have through understanding these concepts and continuously doing maintenance on yourself every day, um, it'll make it harder for you to be susceptible to spiritual energies that you don't want to be susceptible to. And it will also make you more aware, because you have to become more aware of your own physical, emotional, and mental energies. This means it takes time, it takes meditation. You have to meditate if you want to get a better mental energy going. There's no doubt about it. Meditation is key to a spiritual life. If you're not meditating, you're not really doing anything spiritual, in my opinion. You have to be meditating in order to manage the mental body, which is obviously connected to all the other three things, and it is the closest one connected to your spiritual body. So you need a lot of work in the mental body. You need a lot of work in the astral body, which means you need to become aware of it, and you need to know techniques, practical, time-proven techniques that will help clear and protect those things. And as far as all the research I've done in my whole life, there's not really any great, powerful techniques in any of the books that are out there. That's because there's no initiates or adepts actually giving the secrets away in those books. It's very far and few. You actually have to study with a good spiritual master or teacher, somebody that has been imparted knowledge, like they have been given the ways from master to teacher in a lineage. That's how I have come by some of the techniques that I have, almost all the techniques I have. And that's how I refer other people to find powerful tools to utilize. So you have to have meditation to have a good mental body. You have to know how to purify yourself after having like a bad day, a bad year, bad month, a bad day at work. You're bringing home all the stuff that you've, that's stuck to you from your day. You have to know how to purify. And a shower is good, but there's other ways to do it. There's spiritual ways to cleanse yourself with holy waters, lustrations, mantras, prayers, smudging. There's hundreds of different ways to do it, but you want to find the most effective and powerful way to do that, and it's usually a combination of these techniques together. And you can't like take a Tibetan mantra, sage, and some water from your tap and combine those together and think you're going to get a powerful purification happening. You need to do a very specific, fluidly cultural way of cleansing the auric body. And this means you're going to use either just straight Tibetan, straight Native American, straight Christian. You're going to go with the formulas that have been passed down in a lineage, because those things work well together. And so you're going to keep with that tradition because traditions have power behind them. Hundreds of thousands of people have done those same things for years. So the disincarnated spirits, they back that with their energies, and makes it a powerful tool. So you can utilize those kind of things to cleanse your emotional body, as well as just knowing some good affirmations on how to release things. Um, there's lots of different ceremonies and rituals to do that as well. Fire rituals in the Native American content. You can do fire rituals to release all your sufferings into the fire. There's lots of different ways that you can do those kind of healings for the emotional astral body. It's important to keep that clean, especially if you're psychically sensitive in any way, shape, or form, because you'll be sticky. You're going to pick up things throughout the day, especially if you work as a psychic or a medium or you're in the professional field. You're going to want to make sure that you're cleansing very, very frequently. As a medium, I do work at psychic fairs and big events, so I see a lot of people, and I have to continuously cleanse. I have to get ready for the event months ahead of time, getting my energies up to par to deal with all of the work that I'm going to do for 3 days. So you wouldn't think you need to do such a thing, but you do. You have to be ready for those things. Or what happens to all of us, even if you're not in the field, even if you're not a psychically sensitive person, what happens is through our interactions, we lose energy here and there. We pick up bad, heavy energies. We have a bad physical diet. And those three things combined lead to sickness. And then we end up in an unhealthy situation where we've gotten the flu, or we get continuous colds, or we have chronic bronchitis, or we get heart disease and this, that, and the other thing. All of these things are symptoms of not just physical issues, but mental and spiritual issues. So the more you can strengthen your mental and emotional body along with your physical body, the greater holistically you will be in a sense of health. You'll wake up and you'll feel like singing. You'll feel lighter in the mind. You can tell when energies are heavy because you are in a different vibrational pattern, that when you come close to people, situations, or things that are in a heavy vibration that are going to bring your energies down, you will know that right away, and hopefully you will make the decision to not have those choices in your life, and you will choose the highest vibrational essences to keep you in those higher states. And that's a hard thing to do. And one of the ways to do that is to just be an ethical person, to live a good, modest, virtuous life. That is another big deal that we don't have in this lifetime. With all like the bad things that we can ingest mentally on TV, with all the bad things we can ingest physically to eat, like fast foods and other things like that, and with all the bad emotional things that we can engage in, the dramas and plays of life that we just like to get caught up in. All of those things are going to lead to bad health. So, not just on a physical level do you need to make good, healthy eating choices, but you also need to make those same choices for your emotions and your mind when it comes to what you're ingesting as well, and what environments you put yourself in, what situations you engage in, because all of those things affect your health. And we all know that to be true. If you reflect, you can find yourself in a bad emotional situation that made you ill. You were chronically ill. You were depressed. Your mind was in a bad place. And then once you got out of that, you got yourself healthy. You probably went back to the gym. You probably started eating better. You started feeling better. Your mind was clearer. All those things work together. Health practitioners these days are starting to come into alignment with these things. They realize that there's not just one fix, that you have to utilize many tools and techniques in order to stay in this homeostasis of spiritual well-being. Massage is really great for the body. Herbalism is really great for the body. A good diet is really good for the body. And you need to use all those same things with the same mind state that you would use them for your body, for your emotional body. How's that herb going to affect your emotional body? How's it going to affect your mental body? How are those herbs, the food, and those situations that you engage in life going to affect your mind and your emotional body? We often take jobs and situations that we know are going to be detrimental to our health, and we say, well, we can deal with these things because, we just have to. And in the meantime, it's darkening the mind and making the mind heavy. It's darkening the aura, making the aura weak. And so you're susceptible to illness. You end up making bad choices. You end up in a really bad relationship. Your car breaks down. You end up getting arrested, yada, yada, yada. It spirals out of control. This is because your choices, you're not making good ethical choices that bring you into harmony. So you're going to just keep bringing greater disharmony to yourself. What does this all have to do with spiritual protection? Well, at this point, if you're somebody that knows how to utilize magical forces, the Aether and the Akashic principles, and all other kinds of things, maybe you're a voodoo priestess that wants to wish bad on you. You're an easy target because you live an unethical life. You eat a bad diet, you engage in bad emotional situations, and your mind is dark. And because of that, it makes you a very easy manipulatable target. And with the right kinds of things, you can be taken down. Your life can be made extremely ill, and it can also affect all the loved ones around you. Now, if you do the opposite, if you're eating a good diet, if you're living a good ethical life, engaging in things that are bringing about good, harmonious emotional states, and also affecting your mental states. Let's say you're meditating, you're doing some yoga, you're eating a good diet, you're meditating, you're learning how to be more spiritually connected to the universe. Let's say you get some blessings from some saints or masters. You're reading material that expands the mind, opens the consciousness a little bit more into the positive realms of this world. You're going to be less susceptible to issues. When things do present themselves, you're going to be unfazed by them emotionally, mentally, and physically. You're going to be a hard target for people that want to do you harm. It's going to be very hard for them to do you harm because you're an ethical, balanced person. So these are all things to keep in mind. And to understand, if you want to come into a good state of spiritual health, you have to understand what the soul is and the difference between that and your spirit. Your spirit's never going to get sick. You don't get the flu and then it goes up into your spirit and then your spirit gets the flu and starts coughing and sneezing. It doesn't work like that. But the way it does work is that it can step down. If you're not listening to the greater intuitions and inspirations you're getting from your own spiritual self, then it's going to step down into your mental body, which is going to step down and affect your emotional body, which inevitably will affect your physical body. Now, in the ways of medicine men and shamanic traditions, we understand this is how illness comes into the body. And so we treat the body in this level of stepping down and stepping up. We beef up the physical body with herbs and good conditioning. We take you away from all the things that, the engagements that are giving you bad emotional sicknesses. And we can heal the emotional body with various practices and harmonies. And then we can also start to harmonize and heal the mental body. And all of this brings you into perfect alignment with your pure spirit. And once you are there, you are again in a perfect state of holistic health. And once you can stay in this state of holistic health, and then if you do your daily maintenance, you purify yourself daily with time-tested, real practices, not just the white light. You see professionals like Reiki professionals, medicine men, shamans, and other type healers that can help you stay in that state of balance when you feel yourself getting out of it. You eat a good diet. You do things like yoga and stretch and work out and make sure that the physical body is in good health. And you're doing some meditation to clear the mind and to release it from all its attachments here that are keeping it in a darkened, heavy state. If you do all these things and maintain these things daily throughout your life, you will be in an exceptional state of spiritual health. you'll naturally be blessed by the environments. You'll naturally be blessed by spirit realms and spiritual beings, and you may start running into spiritual teachers. Your spiritual path will open up and flower. It'll be a greater path for you. You'll yield better fruits and results. It's just going to bring you into an even higher state of consciousness. So I meet a lot of people in my life, and I meet a lot of people that claim they have consciousness that's very high, and yet they do things like drink a lot, engage in a lot of promiscuous sex, eat really horrible, and take drugs. And from my understanding, from the ways that I've been taught and the things that I've experienced in this world, you cannot be in a high state of consciousness if you're doing these things. So I instantly disbelieve anyone that tells me that they are, in a place where the Palladian aliens are coming to them and helping them balance the grids of the earth for the greater well-being of humanity. And then I see them out having multiple sexual partners, eating ecstasy and drinking all the time. And then they're at McDonald's the next day. I guarantee you that's not what's happening. You are mentally projecting things, and it's not actually what's happening. So anyone that is in the world of the psychics or the metaphysical realms or the shamans or medicine men or who claim to be doing these works, if you're not a person that is maintaining this health, you are sadly unpowerful, and everything is in your mind, which means that you could slowly convince yourself of things to the fact that you move into a mental illness. So it's important to understand these things. I can't stress enough, if you are someone that wants to be in the metaphysical world, or if you are someone who is already in the metaphysical movements that are happening nowadays, that if you're not living an ethical life, if you're not maintaining the health of your soul, if you do not understand the dynamics of the things that I'm talking about, not only are you not what you think, and what you think is happening is probably not happening to you, but you are in danger. Because the more you convince yourself that things are happening around you, the more work that you try to force yourself into, the more it will debilitate you, and the more you will attract very damaging things to your life. In example, bad spirits, who often come to us and tell us that there are great beings or angels, when actually, in fact, they are imitators. And they come into your life to feed off your energies. And they force you into bad emotional situations that you think are going to be a greater learning spiritual experience. But turns out that you end up staying in these ruts for years to come, just so that those beings can feed off you. So it's important that you maintain these kind of harmonies. It's important you understand these structures, that you understand the science of being a spiritual being. Because if you don't understand this as a science, and you think that it's all rainbows and unicorns, and all you have to do is imagine white light, you are in danger. So the metaphysical world has been around since time immemorable, and many people have gauged, glimpsed, and fallen into it for one reason or the other. But all those people have come to understand that there is a huge amount of maintenance and responsibility that you have to your own soul and to other souls around you. So, what do I mean by dangerous? I mean, you literally can get sick and die from engaging in metaphysical practices, spiritual practices, without the right teachings, without the right ways of maintaining yourself, and without living a good, ethical, healthy, holistic lifestyle for your soul. Mediums often die young because they expend a lot of vital life force in order to talk to spirits. It's not something that I would wish someone to be into. I would not wish people to be a medium. It's actually a very arduous lifestyle. It's not like you can just turn it on and turn it off. And it's not like you see in the movies where spirits come to you and say, I need your help. And, you know, you help them out, you feel good, and your day's done. That's not how it works at all. Um, and in fact, it's very disturbing to have the sight sometimes as a medium. Um, and like I said, mediums often die young because their kidney energies get depleted very fast. Their eyes go, and they often get cancers and other things like that. It affects their livers. So if you don't have these kind of practices and you're trying to be a medium, you're going to classes to do mediumship, you're opening and trying to force open psychic faculties, you can actually lose your hearing, lose your eyesight, get cancer, die. On top of that, there's hugely ethical responsibilities. If you tell somebody something wrong one time, it can affect your whole physical health for the rest of this lifetime. So by you, let's say, telling a white lie or telling somebody what they want to hear instead of telling them you don't know, because for the sake of your ego, you don't want to tell them that you don't know, you actually are forcing yourself down a path of less lifetime to live. You will actually die early. So it's all fun and games and rainbows and unicorns for a lot of people that get into the spiritual world. They start out with one thing and they end up going, well, I want to be a psychic and a medium. I have these powers. I feel I have these powers. Somebody told me I have these powers. And I'm not trying to diverge you in a different direction. I'm just trying to explain to you how dangerous these things are in this lifetime. And if you don't know the science of how to take care of your soul, if you don't have actually powerful techniques, time-tested techniques, then you are risking your life and possibly forcing yourself into an early death. Or at least at the end of your life, you will come to an incredibly excruciating, debilitating disease. And that's not how I want to die. I often think about death, and I often imagine myself dying with a smile on my face and happy, not sitting in a hospital and dying from kidney disease, or spending 5-6 days of my last hours on this earth writhing in pain. So I implore you to think about these things. I implore you to find good teachers and masters that can help you maintain your spiritual health, your holistic health, and make sure that you have all these things in place. If you're especially seeking to open up your clairvoyant faculties and clairsentient faculties, if you're seeking to communicate with spirits, if you're forcing open your consciousness in this world, as most people are, you better do all your research on how to be healthy and how to maintain health and how to become aware of this. And it only will serve you by having this health. You will naturally open up all these faculties. You will naturally be more aware of the other worlds because your senses will be healthy. They will be open. They will be clear. They won't be full of junk. And you'll be living an ethical lifestyle where only thing attracted to you is positive energies and spirits. So that's it for today. I hope this has been educational. All of these things will be in my book, along with some traditional techniques and practices that have helped me for years, and will help you as well. So keep a lookout for my book next January as I complete it and finish it. A lot of these things are in it. And stay tuned to my YouTube channel if you like what you're hearing, or you're even a YouTube troll who wants to keep hating. Click the link, subscribe, and check out my website and the services that I offer as well. So may peace, joy, and love be the rulers of your day, and I hope this helps you all.